All right, as we move forward here, there is an issue that I feel so strongly about, and that is getting American hostages home. You have heard about the American hostages that we have in Israel. There are others in other parts of the country, including Venezuela. I promised you I would not give up on this issue. The fact that we have a Navy SEAL, active duty, named Gilbert Castaneda, still in custody in Venezuela is outrageous to me. Did you know we have an Air Force veteran, 9 years? His name is Joseph St. Clair. Joseph St. Clair has been a member of the Air Force for 9 years. He's a veteran now. He is in custody in Venezuela, being held hostage, I believe, for political purposes. Well, his mother spoke out at a rally last week to bring him home. Listen.
And to the American people, I ask that you join us, that you raise your voices, that you share this story. Keep Joe and his fellow captives in your heart, and together we can assure that they are not forgotten. President Trump and Congress, I trust in your strength and I trust in your humanity. Act swiftly. Prove that America leaves no man behind.
I agree with this, and the mainstream media does not want to cover this story, which is why I will not give up on it. Now, Rick Grinnell, a great confidant of President Trump, went in February, got 6 Americans home from Venezuela. We believe there's at least 2 to 6 remaining in Venezuela. We spoke to Gilbert Castaneda's brother about the possibility, are these folks still alive? Here was his answer.
Oh, Venezuela has been very quiet on all things regarding not just my brother, Wilbert Castaneda, but also the other detainees. We did hear from one of the detainees that was brought back by Mr. Rick Grinnell, and who mentioned that he had close proximity to my brother as of January 31st, but we haven't had any proof of life since then.
All right, so we have hostages that had seen them. I want to figure out what the situation is with Joe St. Clair, that Air Force veteran. We've got to get him home. It's imperative. I want to bring on now to the program Joe St. Clair's father, Scott St. Clair, is with us. Scott, welcome to the program. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances, but I want to get the word out as best we can. So welcome, sir. We're happy to have you on.
Hey, we thank you, Grant. We appreciate your voice, especially while we were in Washington, D.C. And, just like my wife said, it's just not known. And so we appreciate you making the American people aware of this major crisis that's going on in Venezuela.
Does it amaze you, shock you, that nobody's talking about this? I would think this should be on the front page of even the corporate media outlets like the Washington Post and New York Times on a daily basis, and yet nobody's talking about this.
It's so true. I've been approached by, or when I've discussed it with media, many times when I'm the one that's approaching media, they vet it through their producers and they're like, this can't be real. And in fact, they go check it. And when they find out that it is real, then suddenly they want to report about it. But absolutely, it should be on the mouths of media, should be on the mouths of our leadership in Congress, as well as the administration. And it just seems like I've said so many times, there's many opportunities when we're talking about Venezuela, talking about oil, talking about Chevron, we're talking about sanctions and all of those things. It just seems like the hostage is my son, Wilbert Castaneda, a Christian's brother, Lucas Hunter as well, and Jorge Vargas is another of the ones that I can mention. Those names are just not mentioned, and we just were so happy at that event, the mural that you heard my wife speak, to be able to give a name to them and to speak it out loud and get some interest. So thank you so much for helping us with this cause.
President Trump and his team managed to get back 6. I imagine that was a happy day for you to see 6 come home, but not your son. Are you still in contact with the administration? Has President Trump talked or reached out to the families at all?
I haven't talked to President Trump yet specifically. I've asked to, and I believe I know that he's expressed. I mean, his track record shows that he cares about hostages. So I'm hoping for that day when I could know for sure that President Trump knows about Joseph and the others, but that hasn't happened yet. And one thing, just going back to Rick Grinnell, all of us were seeking that proof of life, because the truth of the matter is, had it not been for Rick Grinnell bringing those 6 out, all of us would not even know where our family members are now, because they were missing at that point. So it's that proof of life is huge. But yes, having President Trump acknowledge that he knows about them, I know he's the man that's going to get the job done. It's just a matter of that plan, executing it, and making it happen, and cutting through the politics, and doing what makes sense to bring them home very quickly.
I've said it before. This is not a political issue. This is not a left or right. I would hope every Democrat senator in Washington, just as every Republican senator or a member of the House, would fight for your son's return. This is not about politics. This is about getting an American home, and a veteran at that. Can I ask you, do you know how your son was captured?
Only, just like Christian said, only from what was reported by those that were returned. And so the story is, he was visiting a family member of a friend in Colombia, and they got close to the border, and then they got grabbed. It's not known whether it was by cartel members trying to broker a deal to get money for a hostage or whatever, but just simply they were grabbed, and then they saw his military credentials on his phone. The bag went over the head, and the next thing you know, they are being held hostage.
Did the returning hostages, the ones that came home with Rick Grinnell, was your son like Gilbert Castaneda? Did they see and know of him? Were they in a jail cell near him? Do you get word exactly about your son?
I sure did, and that was what a light of a ray of hope that was. I actually was able to speak to his cellmate, and basically it was reported that both Castaneda and my son, because of their military training, had stepped up as leaders. We're kind of serving as mental blocking and mental help for the others that were there, showing them how to have hope, how to keep their spirits up, and how to resist so that they could get better conditions while they were being held. But again, these are the worst prisons. And then when you go back and do research about the Citgo 6, other cases that we've been now forced to look into when this crisis began, it just makes, again, the proof of life so critical, because you hear about these places that are designed, Maduro designs these places to break a human being. And while it might be good for a month or a season, while they're waiting to be released, the stories are pretty horrific.
I can't imagine what it's like as a father. I've got a 16-year-old son myself, to think you know where he is, you can't get to him. It's got to be a feeling of almost helplessness, but you're doing everything you can to get the word out. Just as a father, Scott, what has this been like for you?
It's been since February 4th, the day I found out. It's been a day by day, 24-hour. It started out in the dark. What do I even do? I'll have to report that Adam Bowler reached out to me before the government designated Joe as wrongfully detained. I had been on the internet, on Twitter, just trying to find any help from anybody that I could find. And lo and behold, I DM'd Adam Bowler because I found out who he was. That man called me personally on my phone and spoke to me for 30 minutes. So that was a light. And then from there, it's been understanding what they call the hostage enterprise, this Levinson Act system that the government has put into place. And I'm glad it's there, but understanding how to do anything, how to advocate with Congress, how to utilize the services that are now available through third parties and NGOs, all those things where you're able to connect with people that have gone through it, people that have experience with it. And then, that the week we spent in Washington, D.C., while it was painful and tough and arduous, the connection that we were able to have through bringourfamilieshome.org, through the other families that were there with us advocating for release of Venezuela hostages, among other countries, it was kind of an amazing connection. And so we built a family. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll ask you one last question. I know we need to get your son home. Obviously, when I say what you need, we need your son home. Beyond that, is there something that you need from this government, that you need from the people, that you need that we could try to help you with, that's pressing, that you're still having trouble with?
Well, we need to know what the plan is. We need to know from the government what the actual plan is, and they haven't been able to tell us that yet. Secondly, we're approaching people like Senator Risch from Idaho And we're asking people that are part of the Foreign Relations Committee on a bipartisan basis. My senators in the state of Washington have signed a letter to President Trump asking for Joe's return, but we're asking for our senators, as well as those that can really get things done, to speak loudly about it and to push the administration to make this a top priority. Other than that, again, asking Trump to make it happen.
You know, we've got Brian Glenn, our chief White House correspondent in D.C. I'm going to make a personal call to him, see if we can get him to ask a question at one of the next press briefings to Caroline Leavitt. I'll use my contacts inside the administration, and there are many, to see if we can get this in front of the president himself. Our prayers are certainly with you and your family and the families of the other hostages. We so appreciate you coming on. I know it can't be easy. Scott St. Clair, thank you, and we're praying for your son, Joe.
Thank you for praying. That means a lot. Take care.
Absolutely. Well, there is power in that, and I would again say to all of you out there, say a prayer for Joseph St. Clair and, of course, his family. Can you imagine going through this? Brutal, folks, brutal.